When you think of Jackie Chan, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Maybe Kung Fu, ninjas, or some of his movies that you may have liked? Well, what if I were to tell you the first thing that comes into my mind when I think of Jackie Chan is Archaeologist? And you may be wondering why? Well, there is actually a TV series named Jackie Chan Adventures. And yes, Jackie Chan plays an archaeologist. And let me just say, this is one of the greatest cartoons on my list that I've ever watched. It's kind of similar to this other series called The American Dragon, but let's focus on Jackie Chan's adventure and let me get you into the first episode. Now, I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible because, like a certain series I tried to upload, it might get copyright claimed and be blocked everywhere around the world. Which honestly, like the other one, I don't really care if it's get copyright claimed, but if it gets blocked, that kind of makes me sad and I can't upload it. But before I even get into the first episode, let me just say, if you're interested in the series, I would 100% recommend you check it out. It's a very good one, and I just think you would enjoy it, especially if you're a Jackie Chan fan. So the first episode begins with Jackie Chan and some other archaeologists, I presume, exploring this castle. And one of the archaeologists is talking about the backstory of the castle, and Jackie Chan says a pun, I'm presuming. Here, take a look.
And Mad King Ludwig would invite guests into the Castle Linderhof, where they would fall victim to any of his dozens of deadly traps. Rude.
That's why his name was not Lovable Ludwig or Good Neighbor King of Bavaria.
While walking, Jackie Chan sprays this powder and it shows like a booby trap. And one of the archaeologists says like it's probably an old trap, it probably doesn't work.
Ah, come on, what are the odds that these traps still...
So Jackie Chan takes his hat, throws it on the floor, and boom, the trap just sets off right in front of this guy. And this guy is just right here terrified at this trap that's gonna kill him. But Jackie Chan is just right there on the side, smiling with a grin on his face. I mean, this could have killed the man. I don't know why Jackie Chan is smiling in there like a criminal. Eventually, Jackie Chan and the archaeologist end up in the treasure room. And as you presume, like most show, some stupid guy, one of the archaeologists, decides to pick up the treasure. Just as Jackie Chan says, don't touch anything, could be booby trapped.
Ludwig's lost treasure.
I'm sure the booty is booby-trapped, so don't touch anything.
And as he said, there's a booby trap. But thank goodness our karate, whatever Jackie Chan does, comes to the day and kicks a little spear and he gets trapped. It traps the door before it closes, the trap door which was there. And they all run out, but Jackie Chan gets trapped. But thankfully, he finds this sword which is able to defend himself against the traps, and is able to escape through this vents, I presume, which is kind of weird because those vents could have led to anywhere except for the outside. Like, I mean, for all we can know, it could have ended up him sending into like a trap full of lava or something, you know, because this place seems pretty dangerous with the traps and all.
Snowboarding works much better with snow.
Then there's this pretty cool intro that plays, but I'm not gonna play it due to copyright reasons. But Jackie Chan goes home and he sees his father and shows him the shield. And his father introduces him to a niece, which apparently he did not know anything about. But I want to get to this niece. I think this niece has teleporting powers just by how fast she is or what she can do. You'll see later on.
Well there, doing poorly in school. Your cousin thinks she will do better in America with you.
Then out of nowhere, these three dudes walk in and they tell Jackie Chan that their basically boss is willing to buy the shield off of him. And he says that he donated the shield, but they say he better undonate it if he doesn't want something bad to happen to his family.
Castle. Our extremely wealthy employer is interested in purchasing that shield.
I'm sorry. I already donated that piece to the university.
It would be in your family's best interests to undonate the shield, Mr. Chan, by this time tomorrow.
So they walk out telling him that they expect him to give back the shield. But Jackie Chan decides to follow them, which doesn't make any sense, but he follows them, but then end up caught after falling down from like the roof or following them through the buildings. And he ends up going through this fight scene with them. And they end up pulling up like electrocuted like batons, and Jackie Chan ends up fighting them with windshield wipers, and he gets him, he wins him, and this is Jackie Chan, so what more can you presume?
Let's get out of here.
Okay, but then the scene goes on to have Jackie Chan get knocked out, and you may be wondering who's this person getting knocked out, but that's not what I'm gonna get to right now. What I'm gonna get you into right now is that his niece just is right there when he was fighting them, and she's just there. I don't know how she was able to catch up with first the car that those bad guys were driving in, and how fast Jackie Chan should be. Like, this girl is moving fast. Okay, let's get back to the person who knocked him out. So it turns out the person who knocked him out was his friend of his, and he basically brings Jackie Chan to this place, and Jackie Chan learns after, you know, first he was happy about seeing his friend, but then he learns that he's the one who knocked him out, and he's sort of pissed, and decides to go to a cell phone thing and call basically for a way to go back home. But as soon as he calls, the elevator comes in and it pushes him, and he ends up going down to the secret place. So it turns out that his friend works out for this group, which is like super secret, like police group, which goes around trying to figure out this group called the Black Hand, that's basically involved in all kinds of crime. And as you may presume again, the niece ends up teleporting there, and there's this whole scene that comes up. But anyway, after the whole scene where the niece teleports and all, Jackie Chan gets a call, and surprise, surprise, it's the guy involved with the big bad boss guy. So before we get into what's happening from this guy who's calling Jackie Chan, let's get back to what happened to the three evil dudes who try to, you know, threaten Jackie Chan. So they get back home to their boss, and their boss tells them, how did you lose one archaeologist? And so he calls in this guy, this big guy, which is another one of his subordinates, and he basically bear hugs him. He bear hugs those guys, and then he tells the guy, the big guy, to go get the shield. And then we come back and we find out that this big guy is the guy who's calling, and he's saying, Jackie Chan, I have your uncle, you better give me the shield, or he insinuates that he's gonna torture him. So Jackie Chan decides to give the guy the shield, doesn't tell his friend, and tells the niece to stay there. And as you might presume, that niece is going to teleport, alright.
Hi.
Ah! How did you?
The stairs.
Well, take these stairs to your
So
room.
Jackie
Oh,
Chan
let me help.
goes
Uncle's
to
my
the shop which his
uncle,
uncle owned to
I
find the
think.
shield.
Fine.
And with the
Help
help
find the
of magic teleporting niece, he's able to find it and go to the negotiation spot. At the negotiation spot, the niece teleports there again, and they're able to devise a plan where the niece takes the uncle downstairs, and Jackie Chan keeps his shield and basically fights the ninjas, which there's like these shadow ninjas, and he fights them, and the big guy ends up going downstairs. So Jackie Chan is fighting these ninjas, right? And he ends up trapped on top of a roof. He throws the shield from the roof because he sees that his niece and uncle are down there, and hopefully they can take it, right? But then the big guy is there, and he gets the shield away from the niece and the uncle, right?
Mine.
The shield.
But Then we learn from the uncle that what really matters is not the shield, but the rune stone or talistone that's in it that basically has magical powers that can
don't
do
you
crazy
worry.
stuff.
We'll be sure to look into
So
that once we
then
reclaim
the
talisman
niece
from
is
the
able
Dark
to
Hand.
convince Jackie
Don't
Chan
need
to
to.
help his friend out in this group to
Admit
find
it.
11 other
I'm getting
talistone or these stones, right, from getting into the hands
Master.
of the Black Hand.
Toru? What?
One more thing. See the markings? Sign of the rooster from the Chinese zodiac. There are 11 more talismans where that came from.
And my gut tells me the Dark Hand's after them, too. You on board, Jackie?
Absolutely.
And that's the first episode. At the end, we get to discover why Jackie Chan decided to create this animation series, which is honestly a pretty good reason.
Hey, Jackie, what inspired you to make this TV show?
When I was young, I always liked cartoon. I really hope someday I want to be a cartoon character. Cartoon can do all kind of things I cannot do in my real life. Character. Cartoon can do all kind of things I cannot do in my real life. After so many years later, the people, the children still can remember me. Today, my dream come true. I love cartoon.
And we also get to notice at the basically at the beginning, which I didn't bring up, that Jackie Chan was actually a part of the production of this series, which makes sense because he's the one who decided to basically create this animation, it seems. And honestly, my thoughts overall on this show, it's just awesome. It's pretty cool. I really loved this show when I was a child. I still like it right now. Honestly, I would still watch it. But it kind of reminds me too of like other series such as like the Mike Tyson Mystery Team, which is honestly very nice. Anyways, I hope that if you see this, you're able to know more about it and you can maybe, check out the show for yourself, But other than that, thank you for checking me out for another series of Night Watch.